Hey guys, Corey here, BPB Restorations, and we are back out in the shop today. If you guys did not see our last video, we pretty much finished up the body, the doors, all that stuff. It's all blocked, primed, done. I think after the last video, I went ahead and shot it, the primer on it, so now it's all done. It's ready for, paint. So this video here, we're going to work on Fender patches, stuff like that. They got a little bit of work they need done to them, and really, these patches are pretty easy to make. If you guys, some people will buy them, and I've bought them in the past, but on these smaller panels, they're pretty easy to make. It's 18 gauge steel. If you got a tabletop bender or block of wood and a flat top, you can pretty much make all these things. So that's what we're going to go over today. Both of these fenders got 2 or 3 patches on them that got to be done, and we want to save these things. New fenders, they never ever fit right, ever. They always end up being more work than just if I would have just cut out and patched the original fenders with a good solid repair. And so I've learned my lesson on that. I've done way too many the other way, trying to make new fenders fit, and if I can help it, I try not to do that. So this video, we're going to go ahead and show you guys how to make these patches, how I go about it, welding them up, grinding them, fitting them, and then showing you how to cut them out and put them on after they're built. So without further ado, let's go get into it. All right. You guys can see these, basically they sell lower sections for these, but I don't know if you guys have ever priced them. They're like right around $150 a piece just for this lower section. So to me, that's just too much money when it comes to this restoration stuff. Literally, I'm going to guess $15 worth of sheet metal for me to cut it out and build it and make it myself. Yeah, I've got the time and energy in it, but like I said, new fenders never fit right and stuff anyway. So anyway, I always, before I go cutting these out and building these patches, or before I cut anything out, I always build my patch, okay? So that gives me something to beat on, something to compare it to. If you just go and cut this out right now, you go to put the new one in, I can guarantee you it's not going to match 100%. It just won't. So just take your flat sheet, and that's what we're going to do today, is take the flat sheet, and we're going to cut it, a little bit large. We'll get our bend in it, our one bend here. This is going to be a fairly easy patch, because it's just the one bend here, and then we'll have to, cut and slice on the sides to tuck it around. This one here, it's smaller, but it's actually going to be, a little bit more work. We actually have to take, 2 pieces. This is 2 planes here, and the way this is curved, you can't really build that by hand. So what we'll do is build this top piece, and then we'll build this outside piece here from about this inside lip right here down and up, and then we'll get it all basically welded up and formed into one piece. We'll weld it all together and grind it all down, and once it's one piece, then we'll proceed on to cut this out the exact same way we're going to do this one. So always build your patches first before you cut any of that old stuff out. It's way easier. So that's what we're going to do. I'll set you guys up on the tripod here, and I'm going to go ahead and get to cutting. Get me a piece of sheet metal cut real quick, and then I'll start forming these up with my hammers and dollies. So we'll be back. All right, guys. All I'm going to do real quick is just measure this out. I know I'm going to make my patch just a little bit bigger, but I want to have a pretty good idea, where to start. So we've got, about 3/4 of an inch back here on this back lip. So we'll give that an inch. And then we're gonna run this over. You know, it's all clean metal. This may look like rust on camera, but that's actually primer, so there's no rust or anything past this. This is all good clean metal here. So we'll run it over about about 8 inches, I guess, I'd say. So we'll give this we'll cut this at 9 inches wide. And then as far as length, we know, you know, it sticks out a little bit further down here at the bottom. So we'll want to measure it about an inch past this, roughly, half an inch. But just so you got a little extra to work with. And it looks like this one's going to need to be somewhere around 11 inches. So we'll cut it 9 by 11 over here on our new sheet, and then we'll bring it back over here. All right, guys. New sheet. We're gonna mark it out here 9 by 11. All right, guys, 9 by 11 there. I'll go ahead and give it a quick cut. I'll speed this process up though, so you don't have to listen to all that noise. All right, guys, I got my new patch, and you can see I cut it a little bit big. We're just going to take it and put it up here about, where we think it's going to go, roughly. I made it a little bit big, so there's a little bit of room for air. But I'm just going to overlap it here on this side, so I have enough to cut this and fold this just like the factory did here, and make a second lip on this outside edge. So right now I'm worried about this bend right here. That's what I'm trying to make, is this bottom bend. So I'm going to go ahead and get this where I think it needs to be. Take my marker, make a line here. Okay. Now I've got a line, and I know where I need to bend when I go take it over and put it on the bench top bender. So this goes about like that. Okay. Now we'll take it over here and give it a little bend and bring it back. All right, guys. Got my piece in here. I'm gonna throw it right in this bender. And that bend over there is kind of a soft bend, so it ain't like a complete straight, 90. So we'll just bend it slightly and go over and check it. If we bend it too much, we can always flex it back by hand a little bit, so no big deal. If you go too little, you can always bring it back over here and bend it. Anyway, I'm just going to line this up here in this bender on my mark, or relatively close to it. Clamp her down. All right, I'm gonna pull you guys over here so you can see this. This is just a cheap bender, nothing fancy here, don't need it. But just line it up here in the back where your bend is, right there on your mark, all the way down, relatively close. And then I'll give it a bend. So let's throw this back in here. take it off and see what we got. All right, guys, here we are. I've got the piece here. You can see I've got it pretty close. As you can tell, the contour here, though, is not 100%. So that's what we're going to work on next. And all we got to do that is just give this a little bit of a flexing, okay? I don't know if you guys can see that, but it will, you can take this and sit here and slowly, you'll get an idea where you need it, and take it on your bench and slowly flex it till you get it closer and closer. You know, there's probably many ways you can do this. A block, you know, on your bench, but I just do whatever. Lean it up against something. If I need my hammers, I'll get my hammers, but this is a soft enough bend here that we'll be able to flex it all the way. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're getting closer. You guys can see that it's really, really close. So we're getting closer. I'll just keep sitting here doing this, you know, a little bit at a time. Don't go too much. If you do, you can always, you know, reverse it. It's a good thing about this metal. It's, you know, bendable and movable. So I'm going to take about another 10 minutes here and I'll finish bending this up, and we'll be back when I get it close and we're ready to do the next cuts. All right, guys, about, I don't know, 10 more minutes or so. I got this thing all hammered out here. It fits exactly like it's supposed to. It's got a little bit of a contour here. It fits up snug. Same thing here. I don't know if you guys can see that. It kind of slopes back in there at the bottom. Just a tiny bit of hammering, a little peckering with the hammer down there, you know, along that bottom, and I was able to get it right in the money. So that right there is what I would call a pretty good patch. So now what I'm going to do is run up here with my marker, and I know, like I said, I need some hanging over here so I can cut it and make a flip just like this. So I've got plenty of material on this front side so I can pull it back as much as I need. Just remember, your bend takes away wherever you planned on bending. You know, this is a pretty sharp bend here, but wherever you planned on bending, it will take away quite a bit of material from your flat spot wherever you're trying to get it to. So make sure you give yourself plenty of extra material. I'm going to go ahead and mark it where I need it bent, and then I'll go ahead and go over there to the bender. Now once I bend this, of course, I'll have to put it in the, you know, make a slit here, right about in here, and then I'll bend this one. This one will be fine, but when I go to bend this one, it's going to bend this back straight here. So I'll have to bend it, probably make a slit right here, you know, and bend it, and then try to maybe rework this just a little bit. It might mess it up a little bit, it might not, but just keep that in mind, you know, so you don't lose that flow you got going here. That's what I'm gonna go do next. I'll just cut it, put this back in the benchtop bender, bend it over, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, I went ahead and bent those down. Once you get on some of these patches, when you're bending them and making multiple bends on one patch, once you get so far, you can't really get, you know, some of these flats back into the bender. So you got to kind of do them by hand. So that's what we did here. No big deal. It'll be just fine once we get the old one cut out and we'll get that all finished up. But for now, I've got it kind of tacked in place with these, you know, clamps. But the reason I did that is to hold this contour that we've got. You know, you can kind of see it there, the original Fender. It matches it pretty good. So I want to go ahead and, while I've got it clamped into place, you know, and all my lips are in place and everything, before I go and mark it and cut anything out, I'm going to go ahead and weld this up. Tack it here, down here. And the reason I'm going to do that is so this will hold its shape. Okay, I'll weld it and I'll pull it off and I'll weld the back side and then I'll grind those welds clean, and then it'll be a full 100% bent, you know, perfectly ready patch. It'll be ready to go ahead and remove the old piece. So that's what I'm going to do real quick. Set the welder up, weld that, and then we'll be back here in a minute. All right, I got it all welded up, ground, and back on here exactly how it's supposed to go. Well, pretty much, you know, an approximate. Of course, you know, it's hanging over a little bit here and here, but that will, you know, once we make our cut and we can push it up into place the rest of the way, that'll be gone. So then it'll be a perfect fit. But for now, I like to do mine, you know, I like to trace it out, and then I'll measure back 3/8 of an inch less, make another line, and then cut on that line, because I like to flange my stuff. I've got a flange tool here. So anywhere that's not just a tiny little patch, you know, just a tiny little spot, anywhere that I can flange, get that extra strength. So like along this side here and along this top edge here, I'll flange all this, and that'll give me a double thickness there, you know, for my weld. It'll give basically like a valley for my weld to fill in, and then we can grind that off, and then it almost becomes virtually unnoticeable to the eye from the outside. Now on the inside, of course, there's a little bit of a lip back there, but we'll finish that out and undercoat it, and you'll never even see it or know it. But a lot of people don't like these repairs done like this, or, you know, some people say, oh, you'll have ghosting later on in your body work. You know, later on you'll start to see those repairs if you do a flange like that. But I've been doing this stuff for a better part of 15 years, and as long as you weld them right, clean them good, prime behind them, you know, weld through primer in between the two pieces, get good solid penetration and good welds, and then use your fiber fill over the top of it, you don't have to worry about ghosting or coming back on you later on. It's a perfect clean repair. And like I said, it gives you somewhere, instead of doing the cut and button method where you're trying to butt two pieces of sheet metal together here and burn it all up, and you know, burn throughs everywhere. If you're just starting, if you're just learning this stuff, this is the perfect method. Okay, don't try to do the cut and button method your first time. It'll be wavy. You'll need more filler than it's worth, and it's just not the right way to do it. You know, if you become a pro and you get better, and you get better with the welder and this and that, you can do them, you know, cut and butts, and you get them to turn out really, really nice. But for your DIYer, this is a perfectly good repair. So I'm going to go ahead and set you guys up on the tripod, put a little fast action on, and go ahead and cut this out, flange it, and then hopefully we'll be back here so I can show you guys kind of how we did that, or what we did. Alright guys, you see me go ahead and cut that, and then I drilled all my spot welds. There's about 3 or 4 along the back, about 4 at the bottom here. And then you've seen the pieces basically just fall off. See, there's the spot welds I cut. Old school, this was somebody's Duraglass patch from years ago. Not the proper way to fix it, but that's why we're here. It probably lasted for 20 years like that, but we're going to put it back right. So now we've got our piece here See, it fits up there pretty nice. And, you know, it's still big. We still got to cut it, trim it, all that stuff. No big deal. But for now, what I need to worry about is flanging. So, as you can tell by the flange tool, you know, I'm going to be flanging this lip here, okay? That's going to sink that down to give me a place to lay my new panel on top of over here, almost exactly where it needs to be. And the only place I'm not going to be able to flange, and you guys will know if you're ever doing this, and you'll come across this piece here, this inner structure, which I've got to cut out a piece here and weld in before I go back and put this in. But I'm going to go ahead and right here, I can't flange it here, so I'll cut this off flush with my black line, okay? And then it'll be cut off flush here all the way across to about right in here. And the reason I do that is so my new panel will sit flush with that. It'll be, you know, it'll be butted up very nicely. Now here we'll have that double flange, so we'll flange this, make a notch here, flange this down to here, and then we'll cut this corner. You can't flange corners, okay? So your corners will have to be cut out completely. And then we'll flange this bottom section, and that'll give us that double material there so we don't burn through as easy. Give us some strength and support. For now, I'm going to go ahead and probably go ahead and cut this out real quick, replace it with a new sheet, and then I'll go ahead and cut this and flange it like I said, but I'll put you guys on the tripod here. Alright guys, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and flange this flange. See, I already ran it across the top there. And all it does is bend that back, you know, an 1/8 inch or so. So give us a place to lay our metal. As you can see, I've already started there and going there. It's pretty easy. Slide it right on. Hit the crimp. Pretty easy stuff. That'll give us a place for our new panel, which we might still have to trim this up here at the top just a little bit, but basically fits in there something like that. Like I said, a little bit of trimming. Get our holes filled, but we got a nice little gap here to put our weld in. There, and this top will, of course, I need to do a little tiny trimming there, so then it'll snug up a little bit better like that. But that's pretty much it, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and take care of this, finish getting this scale off and stuff, and I'll put some Osfo on that and primer, and then that'll be ready to go ahead and throw that on and weld it into place. So I'll go ahead and put you guys up here for just a minute and we'll be back. Alright guys, all that stuff is good and dry. We went ahead and put our self-etch weld through primer on. Everything that we can't get to after we're welded up, so in between here and on the back side of our panel. Now some of that we can get to, but it's best just to go ahead and throw a good coat on. Just self-etch weld through primer. So it's conductive, so you can weld right through it with it in place, no big deal. I did drill my holes here so it matches exactly like factory, same exact. I'll weld it back exact same way. Kind of just sets on there like so, and I'll go ahead and clamp it up here after I set you guys on the tripod. Then I'm gonna go ahead and buzz it in. Just remember, good, you want nice thick, you know,
a good weld, a good solid weld. And if you know anything about welding sheet metal, it never looks pretty the first time ever. So just make sure you get good solid tacks though. You can always grind that crap off. Generally, the second pass of welds, after you weld it, grind it, and then go back your second pass of welds, then it starts looking more pretty. But it'll never look good the first time when you're welding sheet metal. So just make sure you don't leave no big humps. Try to get your weld down in your fill, down inside here, and that'll give a spot basically for your weld to lay. So it's not humped up over, and then you're not trying to, fill it up with body work or, Bondo. It'll basically be perfectly flush with the original, which it is right now. Everything's perfectly flush. So we'll go ahead and buzz that in there, all in this gap here. Of course, you want to have it in place first, but we'll buzz that in. Then, like I said, we'll have very little filler work to do when we're done. So I'll set you guys up here, and I'll get to welding. Alright guys, it's all welded in there. I went ahead and ground off my first layer of welds. As you guys can see, it looks pretty smooth. It's nice and flush all the way. Now I will go ahead and run another bead of weld right here, just to kind of fill in any low spots, right here. You guys can kind of see where it needs it a little bit here and there. And then I'll grind that off the rest of the way. See the bottom here, it all lines up real smooth and nice. The sides. The back side, I went ahead and, of course I replaced all that and repaired all that and welded it all up. There's not a lot of need to grind all that stuff off. It's hidden anyway. I'll prime and, spray the back side of these, so no big deal. Nobody will ever see this. But this stuff here, you can see I went ahead and filled it in here, weld, and then welded it all real good on the back side. So that's a good solid repair. It won't come off. It's just as good as factory. Like I said, seam seal, undercoat the back side, just like you would anything else. And that's done. I consider that done. So, well, besides filling it in with weld, but just kind of see it matches the contour really well. You guys know this side here runs along the door, okay? And then as it gets right here, this is with the part that tucks along the rocker. So there's just a little bit of a body line there. You're gonna make sure you keep that. But yeah, I'll go ahead and weld that up a little bit off camera, finish grinding that. And this patch here is done. In this video though, I do want to go ahead and show you guys my process for this one, because it's just a little bit different. Not quite, just a little bit, but we'll build this piece here and get it all welded up, and you guys can take a look at kind of how we done that one. Pretty much the exact same process, but slightly different. I'll go ahead and get this fender off of this table here for now, and then after I get it welded up, and then I'll get set up and we'll start working on this one. Alright, I went ahead and cut my new pieces. This piece is basically going to go here, about like this. I kind of just tapped on it a little bit here to put a little bit of a bend in it so you could see. It's kind of going to go in there about like that. This other one's going to go up here like so. And what I'm going to do, or I guess how I got this piece here, is basically just turning this upside down on a sheet, marking it out, and then cutting it out, and then just grinding it to fit with my 3-inch grinder here. But anyway, so I've got my pieces. Now what I need to do, this one here is pretty much dead on the money, so that's good there. But this one here I'm going to have to work on, so I'll set you guys up here on the tripod, and I'll use my block, my hammers and dollies and stuff, and I'll basically form this piece to fit right in here. And it's going to be a little bit big, but we'll go back and trim it later on. Then we'll weld all this together and have a little patch for this one here. we'll be right back. All right, guys. You seen I went ahead and hammered this into place, cut it, fit it, trimmed it. That's pretty much how I do them all. I'll put that on time lapse, I guess, so it's probably going to be fast if you have to slow it down, but exact same process basically for the last piece. Cut your pieces. Now what I'm going to do is, see, I've got it pretty much all shaped up. You hold this down into place, it's perfect. So I went ahead and left it a little bit high right here at the top, and that'll give me somewhere for me to weld to. So what I'll do now is take my other piece here, exactly how it goes, fit it together like a puzzle, and then I'll weld it into place. Of course, I can't hold it perfect while holding the phone, but you can see perfect fit. There's a little bit of a lip here, okay? That'll give me somewhere to hide this weld at, to throw it in there. So I'll tack it into place right here on this back side, all the way along there, and I'll show you again here in a minute. But and then I'll go finish welding it, and then clean it and grind it up, and then I'll have a perfect patch, and I can go ahead and cut out my old stuff. So, but I'll go ahead and start welding this real quick, and I'll be back. All right, I've kind of got it tacked into place. You guys see these sheet metal tacks are not the prettiest. They never are. But we're just going to smooth these off with a little grinder, and then we'll pull this patch off, flip it over, weld the back side, and then that'll be perfectly ready to go ahead and lay up here and mark out to cut out this old one. So that's what I'm going to do real quick, and I'll be back. All right, the complete patch is done. See, I've welded it on the back too, but the top pretty much ground all the weld off. Ground this piece down flush to this one, so it looks like a nice clean one-piece patch now. The only thing I'm going to do now is lay it up here like so, mark it with a marker, and then I'll cut out this old stuff. I won't do a lip or a flange on this. It's such a small piece. These are small patches. I can pretty much easily manage this without the heat getting away from me and warping it too much. So I'll go ahead and put that up there, mark it, cut it out, and tack it, and we'll be back so you guys can check it out. All right, the old patch is out. Not much to it, guys. New patch is in. It's all new clean metal all the way around, so we'll weld it all up, top, bottom, sides, and finish this out just like we did the other piece. One thing I do want to mention when you're doing this kind of, this style of what I call cut and butt, or not overlapping, is just make sure you have a nice even gap all the way around, because if not, when you're welding it and it starts pulling together and pushing apart and stuff from the heat, expanding and contracting, it's going to create little ripples and waves everywhere your spots that you had it too close. So you want a nice even gap for good penetration. I'd say about the thickness of your wire would be good enough. Just maybe a slight less than that, but just nice even all the way around. Just grind it till you get that perfect fit, and then go on in with it. So that's what I'm going to do. I've got it all ready. I'm going to go ahead and clamp it a little bit better, and then start welding it, and I'll be back and show you guys this patch. All right, guys, patch is in. I went ahead and just ran the first bead around it all, and then ground all that off. The first set of tacks, I didn't use beads, I guess, but so you can see it's pretty daggone close there. Very little body work needed. Need a little bit more weld here and there, just a tiny bit more grinding, but looks really, really good. It's a nice patch, solid. The back still needs cleaned up, you know, ground and undercoated. That's what you're seeing, old undercoating that's burned up. But yeah, so that's my take on patches, guys. Like I said earlier in the video, these patches, this piece here is about, I don't know, 80 to 100 bucks, I think, and then that patch down there is, you know, somewhere roughly around 150 bucks. Now, I've made these patches for probably less than $20 worth of materials, just 18 gauge sheet metal and a few hand tools, a bench top vise, and you know, a bender. Pretty much all cheap stuff, you know, everything. This stuff isn't rocket science. You guys can do this too. If you got any questions or comments, drop them down below. Otherwise, please share. If you guys want to see more of these videos and more stuff like this, share it. That's what I need. So yeah, that's my take on patches. If you guys want to see more of this stuff, see more of my action out in the shop and building stuff and, you know, repairing and salvaging stuff like this, share. I'm ready to quit my full-time job. I just need you guys to share it, subscribe, get them numbers up. Let me know what I can do. Like I said, drop the comments down below, please. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if you're learning anything. If you like our take on, you know, how we do things and, you know, the stuff we share and how we do it. Let us know that, please. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to nip this one in the bud here and get this video broke down. It's kind of long, so we'll catch you guys next time.